Welcome to the It's About Belief podcast. And as always, I'm here to narrate and walk Steve through. Um, I'd like to say the technical aspect of it, but more often than not, I'm just sitting here absorbing the information. So I want to bring out my guy, Steve. Steve, how are you today?
I'm going to give you the same answer I give you every day. I am doing fantastic.
As well, you should be, my friend.
Whatever we speak words, and they are the catalyst, they are the energy, they are the vibration to create and manifest. So why would I say I'm doing okay? I'm hanging in there. I'm getting, just getting by. Oh, it sucks. I'm not going to say any of that.
That's right.
Doing fantastic.
That's right, man. Look, I I know I asked you earlier, hey, what is it we're going to talk about today? And
Yes.
what you gave me is amazing, and it's not right for me to re-say what you said because one, I didn't expect to hear it, and two, I can't wait till you can deliver this today. This is exciting. So, what are we going to get from you today? What are you going to share with us
Okay. I'm so glad you asked that
today?
because that's why we're here. So, but listen, before we even talk about that particular thing that I told you earlier, we really need to cover some basics. And that we, every single time, we need to kind of back up and get into the basics. Who are we? What are we doing here? What's going on? What is reality? You know, Einstein, I love it. He said, we are here and everything we see is an illusion, albeit a very persistent illusion. But if you start looking around and you really get aware of your surroundings, you'll start to see glitches in the matrix. And I think I mentioned that last time.
Mm.
But again, we need to kind of step back and say, who the heck are we? We're vibration, we're energy, and what we see in front of us is vibration and energy, and we're all part of the one thing that is vibration and energy. So it's not that we're here and you're over there, or there's a microphone and there's a camera and there's this and there's that. No, it's nothing like that at all. It's we are all of these things. And so if we can really get our head around that, that's pretty hard to do. I'll have to admit.
I'd have to agree.
Um, it's challenging to get our head around all that because we're looking at the separation, but the theme for today and the message for the day is, and I'm going to just say it simply: who are we choosing to serve? Is it faith or is it fear?
Mm, mm, mm.
And that is really the gist of how to recognize if we're creating that which we want or that which we don't really want. So if we choose faith, then that means we really need to default inward. Everything that I really talk about is, are you looking out there and reacting, or are you looking in here in calm observance of what is going on out there and recognizing that what you see out there is not out there. It's just feedback to what's in here. And so, man, I'm watching the movie, I'm watching the show, I'm watching the drama and so forth. But I'm sitting back here in the director chair. Again, we talked about that a little bit at the
Mm.
last podcast. But it's so important because it's so easy to get drawn into the drama that's out there and start reacting and getting emotionally involved in it, and judging it and taking sides, and then you're toast. You've lost all your control and all your power to create a life that you really prefer and want.
That's right.
Did that answer your question, Jason
No, oh,
Omas?
absolutely. I I sit here and I wrote down what you said when you were saying it to me, and it is so easy, I think, for people to fall victim to the fear, right? I mean,
Yes.
there are those moments of uncertainty that we all have. Every one of us, no matter how much money we make, no matter what it looks like we got going on in our life, we have these moments of insecurity where you ask yourself, internally, can I do this? Am I capable of overcoming whatever this particular obstacle is? And that's the fear that people dig into. I mean, they some people just really drill down into that uncertainty and that fear, and it stops them, I guess, from doing or achieving the thing they want to do or achieve, right?
Well, yeah, and see what they don't. I shouldn't say they. What all of us maybe don't realize is how powerful we are.
Right,
You
right.
know, it's and I think I mentioned to you I've got this idea to call an AM or an FM, whatever, a talk radio show.
Mm.
And and I was about to do that today, and I was just listening to the talk radio show, and I'm thinking, no, I don't think I'm going to do that because the message that I would give the talk radio guy is that he's part of the problem.
Mm.
And he's stirring up all these fears in people, all these judgments and all this stuff. And that's probably not my audience, even though I do like to listen to some of the talk radio stuff.
Right.
But I come at it from such a different perspective that I just don't. I think it'll just bounce off,
Mm-hmm.
boing, bounce right off. So, but again, the rest of that message would be that people believe that this is a collective experience and that we're all going through this together, and that what you do affects what I do, and what I do affects what you do. But that is not at all, period, at all. Nothing like that is what's going on.
So,
Not like that at all.
so how would you kind of classify that? Because a lot of people are looking at this cause and effect thing. You pass this policy, it affects me this way. You say this thing at work, it affects me this way. I take a left instead of a right, and the outcome is going to be different. You know, so there's that causality. So when you look at that, or when you, I don't know what I'm asking. I'm asking or saying, people look at causality and they say this happened because of that, and you're saying it's completely the opposite, right? It's not that at all.
Well, I'm not saying it's the opposite, but it's not that at all. So you remember I was talking about one of my mentors, and he was talking about ultimate cause. That's where we end up, is
Mm-hmm.
ultimate cause. He didn't say anything about cause and effect. He said ultimate cause. And a couple decades later, I'm thinking about this, and I said, well, yeah, that makes complete and total sense, because there's no time. There's no such thing as time. So how can you have a cause and effect?
Mm.
You can only have what is. And so what is what is. It is what it is, right?
That's right.
So so what does all that mean from us? And how do we take that information and create a better life? Okay, pretty simple. It's like going to Golden Corral. You're at a buffet. You're choosing the things that you want. that's it. Everything exists now. There's no time. So there's only ultimate cause, no effect. So
Mm.
you just relax and you decide what you want. Now, what you just said, Miles, was when somebody does this, it affects you this way. Well, that's only because you have decided to allow them to affect you in a certain way. In other words, you've let them in, you've lined up with their vibration, you've matched the vibrational frequency, you have agreed with their judgment. Now, you can decide just not to be affected by that, right?
Right.
So, maybe this girl walks up to you on the street and she's, gorgeous woman. You don't know her. And she says, listen, you don't know me, but here's the thing. I'm not going to call you ever again. And you say, well, okay, you never called me before, so why do I care? Right?
Right.
So you have no judgment in that whatsoever. But say your wife of 20 years walks up to you and says, I don't think I'm ever going to talk to you ever again or call you ever again. Well, that's different,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got some emotional involvement there. Now, if you could treat her as if she's the woman that you didn't know before she walked up to you and said she's never going to call you,
Right.
then you would have a whole different perspective of that. And then you wouldn't be judging the situation in the same way, right?
Right.
Now, all this is to say one thing. We're not a collective in the terms of what happens over there affects you over here. We're all living on our own vibrational planet,
Mm-hmm.
literally. Literally. I heard that from Bashar quite a few years ago. Blew my mind. At first, I didn't even hear it, but then he repeated it. And he said, literally. And I said, wait a minute, what do you mean? I said, wow. So that means the only effect or the only thing that can cause any harm to me is something that I will allow to cause me harm or distress or fear or emotion or faith. The only thing that I can have come to me is something that I allow to come to me
Mm.
by tuning to that frequency. So that's called law of attraction. I like to say frequency alignment because really that's what it is.
So let me ask you, just so I can be clear and I want to understand it. So a thing happens in the moment, and it's that moment that matters. So it's moment to moment, living in the now.
Yes.
So it's not that there isn't, I should say, causality. There's always, going to be something, but that's another moment. And even in that moment, we get to choose how we deal with it, or how we not necessarily how it affects us, but how we react, I guess, to whatever
Respond.
or respond to whatever the circumstances wind up being. Is that
React is a great word.
gotcha?
React it out.
Mm.
Respond. Responsibility. You and I've talked about that a little bit. Responsibility. It's your ability to respond. Now, if your wife of 20 years says she's never going to call you again, and you're really deeply in love with her, you're going to respond probably differently than the woman that walked up on the street and says she's not going to call.
Hmm.
So, but if you can stop and just not get tied up in the drama of the play that's going on in front of your eyeballs, your physical eyeballs,
Right.
then your ability to respond is going to be significantly better than if you're deep in the drama and you're just reacting, you're recreating some loop, some belief loop that you have going on there. So we see, back to the power part. We're so powerful that we don't know that we're actually that we're creating everything that we see in front of us.
Mm.
And it's so deep that some of our beliefs are so deep in here that there's automatically happening and going on, whether we're really aware of them. I don't want to use the word conscious, subconscious, because that kind of gives us an opportunity to push things off and not be responsible for them. But we need to be responsible for everything, including what we would call subconscious as well. So we don't want to go down the road where we can say, oh, well, I didn't know, but because we do know. We do know. We know everything. So we just have to dig a little deeper sometimes to find it. And so it's about that power and about the things that go on automatically sometimes within ourselves. And we've heard that, 95, 98% just continues on and on through these deep-seated beliefs that we have and so forth that are going on and have been going on for a long time. So they just become automatic. But if you just stop for a minute and say, wait a minute, I don't care if it's automatic or not. I'm really tired of every single time I walk past this ironing board, I stub my toe. I'm really tired of that. Why is that going on? Because it's a belief somewhere in there that if you walk past that ironing board, you're going to stump your toe. Well, stop it. Just stop. It's like, well,
But
doctor.
that's an amazing analogy, because that's exactly how it happens. I mean, just think about it. The thing that we fear is the thing that always happens to us, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm talking about regular, everyday, mundane things. God forbid most of us are afraid of being eaten alive. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But, but, but,
Wait a minute. We're afraid of being eaten alive by what?
anything that creeps and moves in the dark, But,
I don't
but it's
live
the
near
little
a pool
things,
of
right?
piranhas or anything.
It's like you're just drawn to the thing that you don't want because you put so much energy into not wanting it. You know, like the stub your toe thing. It resonates with me because it happens all the time. I have this bench. There's more than enough room for me to get past the bench. Okay, more than enough room. But because I've stubbed my toe on that bench
Oh,
more
no,
often
really?
than I should have, I'm conscious of it, and then it happens yet again. It's like it's a magnet for my big toe. That I have at least 4 feet of a pathway there. But
Wow.
because I'm thinking about it, it's like my body is just walking sideways, and there's the toe right there. But it's like a lot of other things in our life as well. We don't want trouble at work. We don't want to lose this thing. We put so much energy into what we don't want. We wind up getting it.
Completely. Exactly. And, I'm glad you were talking about that. But here's the other thing about it. The people who are listening and watching this particular podcast are here for this particular message because they are lined up with the frequency of this information. So automatically things work out.
Mm-hmm.
And just to recognize that gives one a particularly large amount of power and confidence, and maybe moves one into having more faith and less fear. And that's really what we're heading toward. We really just want to be, and you said it earlier, and I meant to point it out, in this moment, because that is all there is this moment,
Mm, mm,
period. Nothing ever happened. You can't do something in the past. When it happened, it was happening in the now, right this minute.
right.
You can't do something in the future. You can't. You can only do it now, right now. And that's where the power, that's where all of our power is.
That's, I just find it amazing, Steve, that, sometimes these things seem to be so simple, seem so simple. And for many, they are because, like you've been practicing them for, a while. And it does come in the practice, like meditating. I talk to you about this all the time. Just like me, I go into my closet and I meditate because it's quiet, right? Nobody's going to bother me. And I do it really early in the morning. When I get up, I go in there. But the first time I did it, I just fell back asleep, you know. And then I said,
Why not?
okay, I was just sitting on the floor in the closet and I fell asleep. And then I said to myself, all right, maybe I'm not going to be able to do this for an hour right away. Let me start with the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And now I can easily do a 30-minute session where it's not even that I'm letting go, it's that I'm just not holding on, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So it
You
takes
know,
practice.
everything takes practice. While there is no such thing as time, we're in a world where I want to say anything is possible, like the movie trailers, and that is true. But we're also in a world that has a very deep uh, uh, structure of time. And we are here to experience the illusion of time. I just want to say illusion because it is definitely an illusion.
Hmm.
But we are here to have everything slowed down so we can really get into deliberate creation at a snail's pace from the way things actually occur. And it isn't, the reason is to create more expansion for the universe as a whole.
Mm.
And so a lot of people think that we're here on the earth as a kindergarten type of lesson for all of us here. No, 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 that's not the case at all. We have volunteered to come here to help expand the universe at a very rapid rate. And to do that, uh, it takes guts to come here and experience this the way that we're experiencing it. So, no, we're masters. Now, we're also known universally as the masters of limitation. Now, that's not a negative thing from the perspective of vibrational entities that are watching us. It is it's a real honor to be here and to be called a master of limitation like we are.
Hmm.
Uh, and so we're contributing massively to all of creation, and anything and everything that we do matters. And any thought that we have, any action that we take, just cast out to the far reaches of the universe. I mean, just it doesn't happen just where we think it does it within our little are not just this body, but we're also the expanded version of ourselves, which is the all of, we're the all. The all is one and the one is all. So when we think of anything, we do something, it not only affects what we do right here, but it affects anything and everything and everybody. Now, that sounds contrary to what I said earlier, but it's not. So,
I think that's, I mean, I just, I sit back here and I think all the time, and you talk about this experience that we choose to come here. And that's one of those things that I think about all the time, Steve. Like, you know, my higher self chose this existence. Why? What am I supposed to be doing? What's the reason? What's to be accomplished? And the answer to that is you don't know until it happens. At least that's the answer that I've come up with.
well, really the biggest answer to that is just to be here.
Mm, be present.
That's it. Just to be here.
Got you.
Nothing else is really expected. Your vibration of being here contributes massively. You don't have to do, I mean, success. What is success? Trust me, when we, all of us, exit off the planet, whether we did something or didn't do something is kind of immaterial. It's
Mm,
what did we, how did we grow? What do we have for ourselves? Who do we help along the way? It's not did we make this great invention and make a lot of money and go up the corporate ladder. That doesn't make any difference whatsoever.
but yeah, but what do we do, man? I mean, when we're here and we're here, obviously, all of us are here. We're here and we're listening and we're trying to figure out, all of us on a daily basis, how can I make this better? Not different,
Thomas,
but better.
well, do it for yourself. And then that will automatically do it for everyone because you're the one and the all. So be selfish. And Abraham Hicks talks about that a lot. Abraham talks about that a lot. Be selfish, don't worry about serving other people so much as long as because if you're not connected to source, to joy and to uh, faith and knowing, then you have nothing to give anybody anyway. Um, so yeah, you gotta get there first. You gotta get the oxygen on your face first before you can help somebody else get their oxygen mask on
Right.
in the plane.
I
Same
I
analogy.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we're,
Yeah.
and even in this conversation here, I'm pointing out these fears that people have, fears that I've experienced. The moments of self doubt or insecurity in any given place. But having said that, and being aware of that, I read a great book. Um, Gosh, what is the name of that book? Well,
Greatness.
no, although that is a great one. This book, it'll come to me here in a second. But he was an author, or he was a professor at Georgia State, and he had written a series of books. But this one book in particular, he
The
sent out.
magic of thinking big.
No,
David.
he sent out 1,000 invitations to self-made millionaires, and he asked them a ton of questions. 777 of them, by the way, responded uh, with the answers to these questions, and then some of them he went out and actually interviewed. But every one of them. Now these are high achieving people, super high achievers. All right, every single one of them had these moments, and they were reoccurring moments. They never go away, where they were doubting their ability to complete a specific thing. And it wasn't
Hmm.
that they didn't think they could do it. It was, okay, here's an opportunity for us to grow, for me personally, or for the company to grow. But I've got to step out of my comfort zone to actually make this thing happen. And it gets kind of shaky when people do that, because that is the uncertainty. I mean, it's just like people with jobs. They know, even though they complain at home about going to work, they complain on the way to work about going to work, they complain on the way home about work, that But they get up every morning and they do the same routine and they go to work for what? For what? For certainty. Something that they feel like they can count on. When in reality, the rug can be pulled from underneath them in a heartbeat, right? We have a student in our real estate mentoring program who had a job and went to work, got his check, and they were like, "Thank you for your service." I mean, pink slipped the guy with, out of nowhere. I mean, not like in 2 weeks, not like you're going to get one more check or anything. You're done. And now
Yep.
he's scrambling. He's scrambling to do real estate transactions. I mean, he was working diligently at it before, but now it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get a job in this climate that we're in without changing this thing? He's so worried. And I was like, dude, the answer is right in front of you. Slow down. Slow down.
Exactly.
This is a change that is obviously going to be good for you. You have resources, and now you have time.
Exactly.
Listen to what is being said to you.
There's a couple things that I'm thinking of, and the formula for law of attraction is ask, it's given, and then allow it or receive it.
Mm.
So, where in that formula does it say, work your ass off?
Right.
Go get this thing. It doesn't. It doesn't say that. But it does say allow. Now, what is allowing? Allowing is a different frequency than asking. So over here, you're saying, here's all this contrast. These are a bunch of different things here that are showing up in front of my face, right? Out of all these things, maybe I like this one the best, or maybe I don't like any of them. Maybe there's something over there and that I can see it over there. All right, let's say that is showing up, because otherwise you wouldn't see it.
Mm.
So you see that one over there, and say, I like that one the best. So now you focus on that and you say, I want that. Okay, that's asking, right? I
Mm.
want that.
Mm-hmm.
So now the universe has given it to you. It has to have given it to you already. As a matter of fact, I've heard that before you ask, it is given.
Mm.
It's already there. It has to be already there, because there's no time. What are we waiting for? There's no time.
Yeah.
There's nothing to wait for. The universe likes speed. The universe doesn't even know what speed is. It just is. So, but how do we see it? How do we allow it? Well, that's a different frequency, and this is where the work is.
Mm.
So I'm looking at a couple things that have been kind of just hanging there for quite a while, and I want some resolution to them. And I'm looking at, well, I'm thinking I have to work on them every day, and I'm thinking, and I wake up, well, that's still here.
Mm-hmm.
I got to do something. Look, I teach this stuff, and I'm having to dig deep, and I'm looking at, well, what am I doing? And then all of a sudden, months have gone by, and I realize I'm still in asking mode. That's not the right frequency to receive mode. It's not. I'm not ever going to get it unless I get out of asking mode. So how do I do that? Is the question, right? Well, I know how to do that. And the belief idea I wrote this morning really addresses that. It says, what would I be doing? No, actually it says, am I doing right now what I would be doing if I already had that? or if I already was in that relationship, or if I already had that massive amount of money, or if my health was already in perfect shape.
Hmm.
Am I doing now what I would be doing if I already had that which I asked for when I was in asking mode? So if the answer is no, then you're still in asking mode, right?
That's right.
Or if the answer for me is no, I'm still in asking mode. So the answer came back is no, I'm not doing what I would be doing if that was already done, because I wouldn't be noticing that it wasn't done yet. Because if it was done, I wouldn't be noticing that it's not done. It would be done. I wouldn't be noticing it. So I would say, oh, well, okay. So today, I'm paying really close attention to being in receiving mode in every single moment. So, Miles, you said earlier, it's all about the now. It's all about the now. So, right now, those particular things that I've been noticing weren't there. See, when you do that, instantly you're in asking mode because you're noticing they're not there. Boom, wrong frequency. So you have to just drop all that. While it's like you said, while it sounds simple, it kind of is. But is it easy? Eh, I'm reluctant to say yes and no because I don't want to apply a negative. For
Right.
me, it's something that you just have to practice. You have to work on it and practice it. And it really is easy once you understand the difference in the frequency. So now I'm not noticing that it's not there because I'm in allowing mode. It's already happened for me.
Right.
So, oh wow, wow, this is great. It's done.
You know what I
It's
find interesting about that is, and I know I spoke with you about this. We were a while ago. We were going through a slump on the real estate side. We're not
mm,
getting this. We're not getting that. And the minute I said to myself, let me just let me just do it. Okay, let me stop pressing for it to happen a certain kind of way. And as you know, I just started to walk through deals, talk to people and look at what their situations were and help them with their situations. The next thing you know, we've got a partnership over here and a partnership over there and a deal over here. I mean, we've got more deals than we can actually talk to all those people right now. So, and they're stacking up. And
oh
it's
yeah,
all because it's like playing basketball. I think this would be you can't say you're a great basketball player if you don't play the game,
that's
right?
right.
You got to get in there and you got to play and you got to take chances and you got to be vulnerable and all that other stuff. But it can't even be it can't even be a thought. It's like you're not trying to do it. You're simply just being.
It's like the message I was going to have for the radio station talk show guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's the problem because he's focusing on the problems.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep looking at the economy is a problem, the healthcare system is a problem, the drugs are a problem, the borders are a problem. And because we're all individual entities on the planet, we're all frequency aligned to the problems. Now, if we had a talk show that was, okay, there's the problem, here's the solution. And then instead of getting people all riled up and emotionally involved in that, the problem, now they get focused on what the solution is. Okay, we're only going to talk about the solution. Now, that might not be the best interest of the radio station because they're there to generate emotional response, from their listeners and their viewers so that they will tune back in and get kind of hooked into that. And that means the more viewers and listeners they have, the more money they make because of the more uh, audience they have, and the bigger audience they have, the more advertising they sell, the more they can charge.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I said, well, maybe I probably, I'm not really the guy for this show, but
But that's how it goes,
yeah,
Steve. I mean, the world, this world that we're living in, is an amazing place, right? It's a um, one. Nothing ever ceases to amaze me in this world. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you live; you don't get a chance to see everything because there's so many things that can happen, and it is what it is. And if we go into where we started, become reactionary, and you're always playing defense when you're reactionary. I find, and even though it's great to be able to be a fantastic defensive player, but those are the ones that are always hurt and wounded at the end of a career, you know, right? So that says to me, well, play good defense, but let's stay on offense. Let's let's leave a wake instead of having to keep finding our way over those waves that's in the wake of someone else.
yeah, it really comes down to who are you serving today?
Mm,
Faith or fear?
mm,
So to me, I'm always asking that question. And then if it's fear, it's really because you're judging something in some way.
right.
Now, the higher vibrational forms aren't going to be judging it. What we see on the planet, we see death, destruction, uh, hurt. We see bad weather, all this kind of stuff. But is it? So Neil Bortz was interviewing this guy a while back, and this guy had been a prisoner of war in Vietnam for 5 years.
Mm, mm, mm.
And so we would say, hey, that's not a great thing, right? He was malnourished, probably tortured some. I don't know. I didn't really watch the interview or anything. But what I heard Neil say was, and Neil was talking about this later. He said, I don't know why or where this came from. He said, I just asked the guy a question, which was, so was that the best thing that ever happened to you? And what? The first question is what? Or the first answer, maybe. And the guy just kind of was taken aback for a moment. And after a few seconds, he said, yes, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. And then they got into a whole different, conversation.
I would imagine.
So before you start judging anything and anybody, you have to say, well, wait a minute. What is their perspective? What is their perspective? What is the benefit that they might be getting out of what you think is a bad situation? So it's not our job
Mm-hmm.
to judge really anything or anybody on the planet. It's just not our job.
Yep.
Our job really is one thing and one thing only: decide what we want, focus our attention on that, and live our lives in the now.
Steve, that's exactly where we all need to be and where we need to focus for the rest of our day. Whenever you're hearing this, wherever you're watching this, whatever time of day it is, whatever part of the day it is for you, whether the beginning, the middle, or the end, that is the statement that you need to allow to resonate in your life today, at this moment,
Mm.
and take with you into your tomorrow and then the rest of your week and so on and so forth. Because Steve, you said it best, which master are you choosing to serve today? Faith or fear? And I can tell you without a doubt that serving faith is going to make you feel better, look better, talk better, walk better, smell better, different pheromones, right? So walk in that. walk in it. And if
One
you
more.
but if you start to question yourself,
Yeah.
get into faith. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah. One more quick thing, which was um, anything is possible. And most people think that and believe it until they look at themselves and then they start judging and doubting. But anything is possible for anything and everybody, and that includes you.
That's right, y'all. And on that note, I think we need to drop the mic. That's a
Yes, let's do.
drop the mic on them. Until next week, everybody, this is Jason Miles with Steve Conley, learning from Steve Conley and enjoying what he has to share with me, with you, and asking the questions I think you might want to ask him. So if you do have questions that you want to ask Steve, make sure you leave them in the comments. He'd love to hear them, and I'd love to ask them. So let's make it happen, guys. Listen, today's your day, and it's about belief. Steve?
By the way, live fearlessly. Now you know really why I talk about that. There you
Amen,
go.
brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason O'Miles. I couldn't do this without you.
My man.